If your clothing still smells when it comes out of a full cycle of laundry, so it's been through the washer, it's been through the dryer, or it's air dried, and it still smells, I've got a solution for you. Now, what are the smells that you might notice? It might smell musty or mildewy. It might smell like a buildup of detergent and other product that just doesn't smell fresh, but kind of smells danky, or it might straight up smell like BO or sweat. And actually, you might not even notice that last one until you've reactivated that area with sweat. So that is called rebloom. And if you're at the gym and you're wearing, say, a t-shirt and you're working out, and then as you get sweatier, you start to notice that BO smell coming out, that's called laundry rebloom. So let's talk about how you can solve this. First of all, make sure that you're dosing your detergent correctly. I've talked about this a lot before, but overdosing your detergent is going to leave detergent stuck in the fabrics that won't be able to rinse out, and then you're gonna get that smell. Second is not using fabric softener on certain materials. Personally, I don't use them on synthetics. Actually, I don't use fabric softener at all. And third, making sure that your garments are completely dry before you put them into the hamper. So for example, sweaty gym clothes. When I get home from the gym, I air out my clothes before I put them into the hamper so that I don't put them in when they're wet. But the real fix here, the real solution is using a fabric rinse. This is different from a fabric softener. A fabric softener I want you to think of as like hand cream or conditioner for your clothing. Kind of makes it feel soft, it gives it a bit of slip. But fabric rinse is kind of like using a clarifying rinse for your hair. So it like gets out all of that buildup and leaves your hair feeling softer and cleaner. That's what a fabric rinse is. I've talked a lot about it before. I will put my favorite one for you in the link down below. Honestly, it takes no extra work to use one. You add it in your fabric softener compartment in lieu of fabric softener, and it is a game changer. Let's talk about some of the textiles in the bathroom. So you've got your towels, your washcloths. Those need to be cleaned very regularly. I'm talking like 3 times a week. Now, why is this? Because textiles can absorb bacteria. That can lead to odors in the bathroom. Not to mention, you do want to clean yourself off with something that is indeed clean. With washcloths, I actually change mine out every day because I am traumatized from teenage acne, so I always like to use clean washcloths. When it comes to towels, we usually change ours out every 2 to 3 days. The other important thing with towels is you always want to spread them out so that they can air dry properly. What about these scatter rugs? Now, we don't use these near the toilet, but even still, unless you are closing the lid of the toilet every time you are using it, you can expect toilet plume to come out. You all know by now that is the classy word for the spray that comes out of the toilet. It's gonna nestle itself very comfortably on any textile in your bathroom and just hang there. And yes, that does lead to odors. That's really one of the reasons why you wanna clean these on a regular basis. So a scatter rug like this, you can clean this once a week. You can throw it in the washing machine. Just make sure you check the fabric care label. Again, if you're not using this so frequently, the bathroom, you can clean it less frequently, maybe twice a month, that's fine. And for your shower curtain and your shower curtain liner, again, you're going to rely upon the fabric care label. But if it's plastic, you can machine wash it. You want to use cold water, gentle detergent, and you want to hang them back up to dry. You do not want to put those in the dryer. And if it is a textile, something like this, you can throw it in the washing machine. Now, in terms of frequency, you will obviously want to check and see if there is any buildup on the bottom. If so, that's when you want to launder it. Otherwise, I would say you can probably get away with cleaning these once a month to once every 3 months. Everyone around the world needs to do laundry, so there is an industry standard. And what you'll notice is that the same shapes or symbols occur in the same order from left to right on laundry tags around the world. Once you know these basics, you'll be able to decipher just about any garment's care label. Appearing in order from left to right, you will always see the following 5 symbols, which stand for the following 5 things. Wash tub, which is washing. Triangle, which is bleaching. Iron, which is ironing, no surprises there. Circle, which is dry cleaning. And square, which is drying. You'll also see some similarities, like the number of dots in a symbol always refers to how cold or hot the wash or dry temperature should be and the number of lines under a symbol indicates how delicate you should be when you're washing, and the number of lines under a symbol indicates how delicate you should be when you're drying the item. Now, another quick note here is any of these symbols I say are the max, or what you should do in the. Another thing to note is what you'll see. Another thing to note is that these symbols generally indicate the maximum safe temperature that you can clean your clothes in. So a lot of these garments have been torture tested. So if you see hot as the wash temperature, it means that that garment has been torture tested to hot. But if you're someone like me who really believes in cold water washing and saving energy by drying on low temperatures, the garment will be totally fine in that capacity as well. Let's start with the wash tub. Now, you might notice either numbers or dots inside the wash tub, and they indicate the same thing. Keep in mind that your washing machine cycles adjust temperature based on what you tell it or based on what the automatic cycles input. So by looking at either the dots or the numbers, you'll know how warm or hot the garment can tolerate in terms of wash water. Now, when we talk about numbers, they're always in Celsius because, hate to say it, that really is the universal way that people check the temperature. So if you have 30, that's 30 degrees Celsius or cold. If you have 40, that's 40 degrees Celsius or warm. And if you have 50, that's 50 degrees Celsius or hot. Now, the way that that corresponds to dots, 1 dot would be cold, 2 dots would be warm, and 3 dots would be hot. Now, in some cases, you can even get up to 6 dots. I guess that means you're laundering it in hell, but I've never seen that myself. Now, under the wash tub, there might be lines. If you see no lines, it means that you can wash this on a normal cycle. If you see 1 line, it means you can wash it on a permanent press cycle. And if you see 2 lines, it means you'll be washing it on a gentle cycle. An easy way to remember all of these lines and dots is the more dots you see, the hotter the temperature. The more lines you see, the gentler the cycle. And as anything in life goes, if you see an X through it, just don't do it. If you see a wash tub with a hand in it, yep, that means that you're hand washing the garment. And if you notice that there's a symbol that looks like a hard candy with a line through it, it's not telling you to eat bonbons because you hate doing laundry. It's telling you not to wring out or twist your garments in the process of hand washing. So instead, what you would do is you would simply rinse your garment when you're done cleaning it and then press it up against the edge of the wash basin to get the water out. And if you would like to get your hands on a free copy of our laundry symbols printable, a cute little thing you can print out and put in a frame in your laundry room, I have a link for you down below. You can subscribe to the Makers Clean newsletter and get yourself a free copy. Makers Clean is our sister site where we sell premium microfiber cleaning tools and more. And by subscribing, you will get access to sales, some exclusive discounts, as well as first access to product drops. It makes perfect sense that a triangle indicates bleaching. Does it not? And if you have just a plain open triangle, it means you can use any kind of bleach you prefer, whether it's chlorine bleach or non-chlorine bleach, like oxygen bleach. If you see a triangle with 2 diagonal lines through it, it means oxygen bleach or alternative bleach only, not chlorine bleach. And if you see a triangle with an X through it, I have also seen a black triangle. That means do not bleach at all, neither product. Much like we had a basin for the washing machine, our symbol for the dryer is a square with a circle inside of it. And what you'll notice here are very similar symbols to what you saw with the wash basin. So if you're only to dry this on a low heat temperature, you will see the circle with 1 dot inside. On medium heat, you will see 2 dots. And on high heat, you will see 3 dots or 6 dots, in which case, again, your laundry is going to help. Also remember, if you see lines under the dryer, that will indicate whether you should be using a permanent press cycle, that would be the 1 line, or if you should be using a gentle cycle, that would be the 2 lines. And of course, if you see no line, that means you can use the normal dry cycle. Now, this is where things tend to get a little bit tricky and confusing. But if you're not to be putting these items in the dryer, you will likely have to hang dry them or air dry them in some way, shape, or form. And you'll notice a number of different symbols to indicate this. You'll see a square for these, so there won't be a circle inside. And the first symbol to pay attention to is the square with 3 vertical lines. This means you're going to drip dry or hang dry the item. Now, if you see a square that has sort of a saggy middle, kind of looks like a round envelope, that means that you're going to line dry your item. A square with 2 diagonal lines means you're going to dry that baby in the shade. And if you see a square with 1 horizontal line, that means you are going to lay the item flat to dry. If you're someone who still irons first, I gotta congratulate you. And second, your fabric care label will also tell you the temperature that you should be using your iron at. So quite simply, you're going to see the shape of an iron as the symbol. That one's easy, thank goodness. And the dots on the inside, again, are going to indicate the temperature that your iron should be when you're using it. Now, a little tip here, when I iron my clothes, which probably happens twice a year, I'll take a bunch of garments out of my closet and I check the fabric care labels to see what temperature I should be ironing them at, and I line all of my garments up in that order. That's so that I don't have to keep adjusting the temperature of my iron. I start with my coolest, or the 1 dot, then I move to the medium, which is the 2 dots, and then finally I move it up to the highest heat setting, or 3 dots. And that way my iron just gets progressively hotter and I don't have to worry about ruining my clothing. Now, you might also notice little steam lines coming out of an iron as a symbol. That means that it's safe to use steam on the garment. And if you see an iron with an X through it, you know what that means. Don't iron. And then there's the circle, which is not to be confused with the circle inside the square, which is the dryer. This circle refers to dry cleaning. Now, if you have an open circle or a clear circle, that means this item can be dry cleaned. If you have a closed circle, so a black circle or a circle with an X through it, it means you are not to dry clean this item. You might also see in text, dry clean only. You know what that means. And you might also notice, if you have the open circle, different letters in there. That simply tells your dry cleaner what they can and cannot use to clean the garment. You don't need to worry about it. Go to your washing machine and check to see if it has some sort of a quick wash function. If it does, you're in luck, and this might be your new favorite function. I'm gonna give you 3 reasons why you need to start using it as often as these issues pop up. First of all, if a garment that you have has a stain on it and you've just treated the stain, rather than waiting however long until you launder that color in a load, you can use the quick wash cycle, which I'll explain in a second. The second instance where you might want to use it is, let's say you get a new garment and you don't want to wash it with everything else because you don't want to worry about dye transfer, or you want to wash it before you wear it. Let me know in the comments down below, by the way, if when you buy a new garment, you're the kind of person that wants to launder it before you put it on, or if you just rip the tag off and throw it on your body. And third, you might want to use it if there's something that you need to wear that you totally forgot to launder, like say a sports uniform and someone has sports practice in an hour. A quick wash function can get you a load washed in about 15 minutes. That's what my machine can do. Lots of machines are offering this function these days. Not enough people know about it. Now, is it the most water conservative cycle you're gonna find? No, it's not. But when you're in a pickle and you need it, it's there for you. Over the past 2 years, I've had access to laundry laboratories, working with scientists to learn not only about how detergents work, but how washers and dryers work, how water affects our laundry, cold, hot, hard, soft, and how our garments react in water as well. So this isn't something I'm just rolling off the top of my head. This is science-backed, this is research and information-backed, and I'm just sharing it with you. At home, your clothing probably consists of a mix of cotton, cotton blend, nylon or synthetics, wool, heavy-duty fabrics like linen and denim, and then of course your home textiles like towels and sheets. Of course, if you have a specialty item, the fabric care label is always going to guide the way. And once you take into consideration these different fabrics and their general requirements, it'll be very easy for you to know as soon as you strip an item of clothing off when you should launder it or when you should hang it back up or put it back in the drawer. Now, of course, there are rules about the type of fabric and how frequently you should be washing that, and of course, what the garment is being worn for. For example, a soccer jersey should be washed more frequently than a blazer for obvious reasons. But further to that point, how close a garment is to your body will also dictate how frequently it should be washed. The closer that layer is to your skin, the more frequently you'll want to wash it. So any undergarments definitely need to be washed every single time. But something like jeans or a top, if there's an undershirt being worn, those can wait 1 or 2 washes. And this is because our body sheds a number of different things that can build up in our fabrics, causing them to look and feel kind of gross, and of course smell. And this includes sebum, dead skin cells, and sweat. Now, it's all too easy to get caught up and completely confused in the laundry aisle when you're trying to pick a detergent and any other products that you want to add into your laundry mix. But for me, the most important things: my clothes get clean, they are stain-free, and they don't smell. So the way that I like to do my laundry is using a gentle but effective detergent, and I use Tide Hygienic Clean. This is not sponsored. And I also use a fabric rinse, which I have found to be extraordinary when it comes to removing odors. Honestly, you can put the stinkiest stuff in the wash and rinse and refresh gets them smelling clean and fresh. It's an amazing product. Again, not sponsored, just a huge fan. So that's what I've been using. Some people like to add in scent beads. Some people like to use fabric softeners. Some people like to use dryer sheets. Whatever you love in terms of your laundry routine, I really want you to think about what the outcomes are that you desire for laundry. And then you can start with that and let that dictate the products that you use during your laundry routine. So now that you have a good general education and understanding of how laundry works and how frequently things should be washed, let's get into specifics. And we're gonna kick things off with t-shirts and tops. So these would be items that you wear directly on your body without any undershirt underneath. So what does this tell you? That your core, your back, your tummy, your chest, your armpits are all going to be excreting dead skin cells, body oil, and sweat onto these garments, and it's going to be absorbed. Now, if you're just wearing, a t-shirt under a little leather jacket and you're going out for coffee and you come home, the t-shirt might be clean, and in that case, you can take it off. What I always do is a little sniff test. I check the armpit, and if it smells, it goes in the laundry. And if it doesn't, I let it air out, because you never want to put something sweaty back into your drawer, and then the next morning I will fold it up and put it away. Generally speaking, t-shirts and tops that touch your body should be washed every 1 to 2 washes. Now here's a highly contentious laundry topic: denim. How frequently should we be washing our denim, and can we wash it by putting it in the freezer? Let me just cover this off for you real quick. First of all, the freezer does not wash or clean anything. I don't care how much money you've paid for your jeans. The freezer is not going to get rid of odors. It's not going to get rid of stains, dead skin cells, body oil, or sweat. Generally, you want to wash your jeans every 4 to 5 wears, or if they look dirty or smell dirty, you would want to wash them then and there. If you're someone who really cares about maintaining the color of your denim, you'll want to turn it inside out, and you can even consider putting it into a delicates bag, a large one, so that it doesn't really rub against anything else. This will help to preserve the dye. Now, I don't put my jeans in the dryer. I always hang them to dry because, let's be honest, we've all been there when that moment arrives when you put your jeans on and you're like, girl, I gotta stretch out the waistband of my jeans, and then you do the jean dance. I don't like doing the jean dance, so I hang my jeans to dry. And I also wash them in cold water to prevent any shrinkage. Now here's one that feels, in the core of my being, it feels obvious, but I'm just gonna say it because I really need you to know. It's underwear. Underwear needs to be washed every single day. One wear, you're done. If you take a shower and you take your underwear off, which I hope you do, your underwear does not go back on after that. Unless you're like, doing the walk of shame and you forgot an extra pair of underwear, in which case, okay, we'll see past it. But generally, you want to wash that underwear after one use. Don't question it. Things build up on your underwear. You want to clean it so that you're maintaining your personal hygiene. And moving right along, let's talk about socks, which fall into roughly the same category as underwear. Whether it is a full cotton sock, something with a bit of a stretch, or a fully synthetic sock, they still need to be washed every day. Feet get sweaty, they live in shoes, damp, dark environments, they get smelly. God only knows what's on the bottom of your sock after walking around a house for a few hours, especially if you have pets or kids. Just do yourself a favor, peel your socks off, throw them in the wash after every wear. Now, bras aren't quite underwear, but they're not quite t-shirt. But when you wear a bra, things get sweaty and it's right by your armpit. So you want to consider washing your bras every 2 to 3 wears. And you want to give them at least a day to breathe between your wears. When I wash my bras, I put them into a garment bag and I wash them with the correct color load, which they belong to. Sweater. I mean, think about the name. Sweater. Sweater. You are sweating in the sweater, especially if you start getting hot in a turtleneck. What you want to keep in mind is if you're wearing a garment under your sweater, which I am not, but let's say I was wearing a t-shirt under this, that would provide a buffer. The t-shirt would be picking up anything that my body is shedding, so the sweater, at least on the inside, wouldn't get dirty. And I can be relatively confident that the underarm area wouldn't smell. But if I were at a store or a restaurant that was really smelly, or if someone threw up on my arm, well, of course I'd have to wash it. So take that into consideration when it comes to your sweater. The next thing you want to take into consideration is the material that your sweater is made out of. For something like a wool or a cashmere, you can typically stretch between washes a little bit more, but then when you wash it, you want to make sure that you're following those fabric care label instructions. For something that's like a poly blend, like this type of sweater, I would wash it inside out in a laundry bag, and I would probably do this every 2 wears because I'm very particular about my clothes smelling fresh and clean. And when it comes to a cotton sweater, like a chunky knit cotton sweater, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I'll wash it every 2 wears or so, but if it's smelly for whatever reason, it'll get washed immediately after wear. Dress shirts and blouses. These are either worn out to look kind of nice and fancy, or they are worn in a professional setting, which should give you a clue, and that is they should be washed after every wear. They are close to your body. Even if you wear like a tank top under them, as some men would, the tank top is not going to protect the armpit area. So really, you want these cleaned after every wear so that they smell fresh. If you're laundering them, gentle detergent, Downy Rinse and Refresh would be really great for those, but you can also take them to be dry cleaned if you're someone that's really into that starch and press look. Now, when it comes to the rest of business attire or more formal daytime attire, like blazers and dress pants, again, you can stretch these depending on what you're wearing underneath. Like if you're wearing a woman and you're wearing like a tube top and a blazer, the armpit might smell. So you're probably going to want to take care of that. But if you're wearing it with something underneath, you can probably stretch the amount of time between having to dry clean your blazer. If you have a steamer or something like the LG Styler, the steam closet, you can pop your blazer and or your dress pants in there to refresh them and give them a nice press. This will help to release wrinkles and get rid of odors. It's a really nice way to stretch out the length of a dry cleaning service, if you will, on these garments. Typically speaking, I will launder mine or dry clean them every 5, 6, 7 wears, but I really use the sniff test and I also look for stains. For dresses, if it's a daytime dress, I will typically launder it after 1 wear because it's pretty much the only thing I'm wearing. I'm not wearing any, t-shirt or undergarment aside from my regular undergarments underneath. So you're gonna treat it as a garment that sits close to your body, launder it after every wear. When it comes to a formal piece of clothing, like a suit or a gown, this is something where you wanna do a visual inspection. Listen, not all gowns, like if they have sequins or appliques, need to be washed after every wear, especially if they don't smell or they're not dirty. But if you were really partying and the dress looks or smells bad, that would be the time that you would want to take it to a dry cleaner and consider inspecting your garment once you take it off so that you don't let stains or odor sit for too long. When it comes to a suit, you can definitely stretch the amount of time that you wash it between wears, but again, you want to make sure there are no visible stains or that it's not super smelly so that the next time you need it, you're not left in a pinch. I am proud to say I go to the gym 3 times a week, and when I come home, the first thing I want to do is take off my sweaty, disgusting workout gear. No, I don't even shower at my gym. I just want to come home and do all of that. But here's the thing, your workout gear must be cleaned after every wear because your sweat sits into the garment, especially if you have moisture wicking garments. Their job is to sort of absorb and release moisture, but a lot of residue gets left behind, that sweat, that sebum, those dead skin cells. Now, the other thing people forget to do is they forget to air dry their gym clothes before they put them into their hamper, and that makes them particularly stinky. So I always leave my clothes out kind of on the bathroom floor. I let them air dry for a few hours, and then I put them in the hamper. I wash these with gentle detergent, no fabric softener, cold water, and Downy Rinse and Refresh, which pummels the odor. Jackets, coats, and outerwear need to be washed seasonally or more frequently depending on the type of activities that you're doing while you're wearing them. So for example, if you're a skier, snowboarder, someone who's doing a lot of outdoor activities, you will want to read the fabric care label and launder those garments accordingly when they look visibly dirty. And because I am not one of those outdoorsy winter types, I wouldn't know the frequency, but I can venture to guess if you're falling on your behind a couple of times or you get on your knees, you might have some mud stains, and you'll definitely want to take care of those as they happen. So when I've done research, the manufacturers of these kind of outdoor technical gear manufacturers want you to launder your garments using cold water, regular detergent on a synthetic cycle, which is gentler than a normal cycle. You will also want to empty pockets, turn the garment inside out, zip up zippers, clip up clips, do up buttons, and make sure that the pockets are empty. Then you'll want to add some plastic dryer balls to the washing machine. Does this sound crazy? Just you wait. The reason you're doing this is because whether it's down-filled or poly-filled, that material tends to be more absorbent. So it's gonna absorb more water, it's gonna absorb more detergent. So the dryer balls kind of help to knock that out during the wash process. The second thing you're going to do is add an additional rinse and spin cycle. This is gonna help get that moisture, get that soap out of your garments. Once that's done, you'll have to check the fabric care label, but you want to dry it on a similar temperature, that low medium temperature. This is going to make sure that it doesn't ruin any of the waterproofing exterior. And for down-filled items, you're going to want to run that through several times, maybe even 3 or 4 loads. And for both poly-filled or down-filled, you're going to want to take those dryer balls into the dryer as well. The reason you need to do additional cycles for a down-filled garment is because feathers require more work to fluff them back up and build that loft. The other thing you can do if you're just a regular old guy like me who walks around outside with a winter jacket on is take a dampened microfiber cloth and just wipe off any dirt or salt as you see it. For hats, gloves, and scarves, you'll want to wash these every couple of weeks. They tend to get really dirty during the winter season. The way I like to wash mine is I flip them inside out, put them into a delicates bag, and throw them into the wash. Cold water, regular detergent. Once that's done, I can typically put it in the dryer. If not, if I'm worried about the type of material, I can just lay it flat to dry. Now, if this is kids' gear we're talking about, kids tend to get their winter stuff pretty dirty. So you can launder those once a week using the same techniques. I talk about that funky bedroom smell, and not in a good way. When someone hasn't washed their sheets in a while, you can really smell the sweat building up in those sheets. So what is advisable, especially if you're someone who sweats heavily in their sleep, is to launder your linens once a week. That goes for pillowcases, your flat sheet, and your fitted sheet. Now your duvet, your comforter, your duvet cover, that doesn't need to be washed as frequently. It's more the stuff that's directly touching your body and absorbing sweat. If you stretch it past 2 weeks, you're really gonna notice that funky bedroom smell. And trust me, you might not notice it, but other people will, and it's not pleasant. When it comes to duvet covers, comforters, and duvets, there are different approaches that you can take. A duvet cover should be washed more frequently because it's technically easier to wash than a comforter or a duvet. You remove it. I mean, it is a bit of a pain to remove and replace, but it's easier than stuffing a giant thing in the wash and having it dry. So you can wash this every month or 2. For your comforter or your duvet, you can wash that every 3 to 4 months. Now, if your machine isn't a full capacity machine like this one, you might want to consider taking it to a laundromat or to a dry cleaner to get the job done. Now that you know how frequently to wash certain garments, I just want to give you some other laundry tips to stick in your back pocket, your clean jean back pocket. First, launder in cold water. Now I know people do not believe this to be true, but using cold water is a safe and effective way to clean your clothes and get them as clean as you need them to be. What's really important here is that you're using a good quality detergent. That is going to help, plus the physical action of your garments rubbing together, get rid of all the dirt, germs, bacteria, and odors that you are concerned about. Now, there are certain circumstances, for example, if you work in a medical environment, or if someone is sick, or if you were doing a ton of gardening, where you might want to consider using hot water or a laundry disinfectant, but those instances are few and far between. Cold water can handle the majority of stuff that you need to wash on a regular basis. Plus, cold water is better for the environment and it is gentler on your clothing. So it actually prolongs the life of your clothing and preserves the way that your garments look and feel. If you're worried about your garments stretching out or getting pilly, what you can consider doing is putting them inside out inside a delicates bag. So anytime I wash a sweater like this, that's what I do because I don't like the look of pilling. Putting it inside out and separating it in a garment bag allows it to still flip and flop around and get clean, but it doesn't expose it to the friction that's created in the wash. Some folks overload their washing machine because they just want to get the load of laundry done, but overloading the machine can be detrimental to you because too much in the machine doesn't allow the drum to spin, whether it's a front load or a top load. Too much is no good. Plus, it's really hard to know how to effectively dose detergent. And if you're using something like a detergent pack, it will have a really hard time breaking down if there's nowhere for anything to flip or flop inside the washing machine. Now, I've talked about this item for years, and it is a laundry tri-sorter, and I separate my lights, my colors, and my darks. That way I don't have any dye transfer when I'm doing my laundry. I just had this happen with a pair of red sweatpants because I had a mixed load of colors. I put in this fresh new pair of red sweatpants and I started to notice a red tinge in the rest of the load. So a couple things to keep in mind here. First, separating your garments, really important so that you don't get sort of that grayish tinge or sort of that reddish tinge to all of your garments. Second, if you have a new garment, particularly if it's red or a red-based color, red, as I know from being in a textile business, bleeds, especially at the beginning. So you want to wash that garment separately. I was lazy and I didn't, and I did pay the price. One other thing you'll want to separate out are fabric weights. So I'm not saying you have to get out a scale and do some math, but generally speaking, if you got heavier stuff like towels, you want to separate those from your lighter stuff like t-shirts. The friction that's caused between a heavy item like a towel versus a light garment like a t-shirt creates pilling on the light garment and just ages it and makes it look older and more tired. So separate your garments, you won't have that issue. If you're a detergent pack / detergent pod user and you've been frustrated in the past saying that your pods don't fully dissolve or some of it gets caked onto your clothing, the solution is simple. Throw that into the drum before you throw your clothes in. And if you have a super full load and you notice that the pod hasn't dissolved, it probably means that the clothing couldn't spin around in the drum, ergo enough water couldn't hit the pod at the right time and break it down. So those would be the two fixes to your laundry pod not dissolving.